This is breaking news.
And that breaking news taking us to Midwest City, where there were reports of an active shooter at Rose State College. My understanding is we do have a crew there on the ground now. We want to take a look at this shot here as we are hearing shots were heard during a possible active shooter situation at Rose State College in Midwest City. A Rose alert sent out to students around 12:15, then a second alert sent out warning everyone to stay away from the Humanities Building. Now, I understand that Humanities Building is at Adair and Air Depot. You can see this is a very active situation. We've tried to get some information from Rose State's public information officer. They are telling us they, at this point, have not heard if a suspect has been detained. At this point, we do not know if anyone was hit by gunfire, but we have been told that there were reports of a shooter on campus just afternoon here today. Again, shots heard during a possible active shooter situation at Rose State College, that's in Midwest City, just off Southeast 15th Street. And our understanding is that this situation has been confined to the Humanities Building, which is just off Adair and Air Depot. The college sending out two different alerts to students. The first coming in at 12:16, warning of the active shooter situation, and then a second alert saying to avoid the Humanities Building. As you can see right there, Midwest City Police also on scene. We have been trying to reach out to Midwest City Police for some sort of update as to the situation. Is there an ongoing threat? Have any students been hit by gunfire, and if they have anyone in custody? We did take a few phone calls from students at Rose State College calling into our newsroom to report that they were just walking. They heard shots, and several students sort of ducked into their cars in the parking lots there. If you're not familiar with Rose State College's campus, the Humanities Building is off Adair and Air Depot, and that is likely where you are looking at this scene here. I can imagine that there are probably a lot of officers surrounding that area as they go through the building searching for a possible gunman. At this point, though, we have not been told if anyone has been detained. We do have several crews on the way there. And hearing from Rose State's PR that they have not been told that a suspect was detained. We do expect to hear more information from Midwest City Police and from Rose State just as soon as it becomes available. But as you can understand, this is a rapidly developing situation. So if you're just joining us here at 12:45 on your Monday, this breaking news scene in Midwest City at Rose State College with reports of an active shooter on campus. The rave panic button urgent sent out to students. Active shooter reported at Rose State in the Humanities Building. Then a second alert sent to students saying that you need to avoid the Humanities Building, and you are looking at another Rose alert. We are currently experiencing an active shooter situation on campus. They are telling people to hide in their cars, just to stay away from that building as law enforcement gets in there to try to determine if in fact there are any victims and if in fact there is a suspect still on campus. So if you know anyone who is there on campus, may not have the ability to get those Rose State alerts, you want to give them a phone call and let them know that there is this active situation. Again, 12:45 on your Monday. If you are just joining us here on News 9 at noon, we are following this breaking news situation in Midwest City at Rose State College. We have a lot of people in our newsroom working to gather as much information as possible. But at this hour, what we've been told, students heard gunshots on campus, several ran and ducked in their cars, and then the alert went out to students at 12:16 that there was an active shooter on campus. We are working to gather more information for you at the scene as well. And if maybe you heard something or witnessed something, we'd like to hear from you as well. We have crews there, and you can also feel free to call into our newsroom as we try to gather more information about what happened in the Humanities Building that sent this rave panic button to students around 12:16. Have we heard from Midwest City Police at this point? I'm asking my producer. We've not been able to get in touch with Midwest City Police at this hour, but you are looking at a map to kind of get our surroundings here. It is in Midwest City, just off Southeast 15th Street, but we are being told that this entire situation is contained to the Humanities Building that's off Adair and Air Depot. And that is where you're going to see a heavy police presence as they investigate the reports of a possible active shooter on the campus of Rose State College. Okay, I am looking to see if I can get some more information here. Obviously, a lot going on social media with chatter about what is going on, and we are seeing for the first time people exiting that building. We are hoping to get some more information from the police officers there at the scene to figure out if, in fact, shots were fired. Maybe it could have been a backfire from a car. At this point, we really don't know if there are any shooting victims or if there's an active shooter on campus, but that is what we are hoping to learn very quickly here. I know that we have Jim Gardner and Bob Mill Sky News 9 heading to the scene as well, and maybe he can give us a view from up top, because what we are looking at right now, photojournalist Darren Johnson, they're giving us this shot here from Rose State College, where someone appears to be very, very upset, which leads me to believe that something may have happened there in the Humanities Building. Okay, what we know, if you're just joining us, active shooter situation near the Humanities Building at Rose State College in Midwest City. Students reporting that they heard some sort of gunshot and then several running to duck into their vehicles. A second alert went out to students saying avoid the Humanities Building, so we believe the entire situation to be contained to the Humanities Building. And we are hearing from Rose State Public Relations that they have not heard of anyone in custody at this point. So we're looking at this being about a 30-minute situation so far, and we have no reports of anyone in custody, but we have plenty of reports of some students hearing gunshots, and then the college responding by sending out active shooter alerts. You're taking a live look at the scene here as you're watching it as we are learning and developing information here. And we can see that they're probably going to start blocking off the area around, as we've seen them do in situations like this, where they're going to block off traffic in and out of that area. So this is definitely an area you're going to want to avoid for some time as we work to gather more information here. And our Jennifer Pierce is on the way to the scene, so we're hoping to get some sort of insight from police there at the scene just as soon as possible. Again, if you are just joining us, breaking news out of Midwest City just after noon at 12:16. Reports of an active shooter on campus in the Humanities Building. They sent out a Rose alert, said it was a panic alert, that there's the potential for an active shooter on campus. We do not know if there are any victims. We do not know if the suspect is still on campus. So if you have loved ones who may attend school there at Rose State College, this is a commuter college there in Midwest City. If you have a way of getting a hold of anyone you know that may be heading to class, or maybe they're still at class, you're going to want to get that message to them just as quickly as possible. It's my understanding now we do maybe have a view from the sky with our Jim Gardner and Bob Mill Sky News 9. Jim, if you're with us, can you tell us what you're seeing from up above? Okay, we are working still to get Jim. We do know he is there, but we're working to get him. And I'm kind of getting a look at his shot. You can see that there are probably about 100 cars in the parking lot near. Okay, and I'm just hearing that the suspect is in custody at Rose State College, so that is definitely some good news there. No longer an active threat is what that would tell me. So we are hearing from Rose State's public information that they do have someone in custody. We are working to gather more information on that. Just taking an aerial view here, I can see plenty of cars still on campus. I can't tell if there are students that are still on campus, but at this point, I think we can go out to Jim Gardner and Bob Mill Sky News 9 to give us a little bit more of a view from up top. Jim?
That's right, Lisa. You're looking at from our live shot, what you're seeing right now, the Rose State campus that is just on the east side of Huderberg Drive here, north of I-40. There's a large police presence. They do have some areas taped off, but we really hadn't seen too much action about from anybody. They're basically standing there talking I don't know if they're in the process of clearing that section of the building, but there is a large police presence here right now. That's all the information I have right now, Lisa. And like I said, they got some students still in the parking lot there, got them out and brought them out in the parking lot. And so as they go through this building here, but again, this is Rose State University, just on the east side of Huderberg Drive and north of I-40 here. You can see the yellow tape now where they've taped it off. And basically they're just conversing right here. And as they go through these buildings, we'll keep you updated. Jim Garpoint live from Bob Mills, News 9. Back to you.
Jim, we appreciate you giving us that view from up top of this situation. If you are just joining us here on News 9, we are following this breaking news situation. We want to go out live now to Midwest City Police Chief's update.
Domestic-related incident. I can't go into a lot more, but the suspect and the victim are acquainted with the domestic situation.
Okay, I guess we are having some technical difficulties getting that update there, but this is what we do know. If you are just joining us here on News 9 at noon, Rose State College sending an alert to students that there was an active shooter on campus and that this situation was confined to the humanities building that's off Adair and Air Depot. That's on the south side of campus there at Rose State College. A second alert went out warning students to avoid the humanities building. We've seen a heavy police presence there for the last 30 minutes or so when those went out. And now, for the first time, we are getting an update.
And that's what the situation we're at now. Obviously, we're going to be here a while. And but I just want everybody knowing right now, everybody, your loved ones or stuff are in. They're probably texting them and calling them. Everybody's safe. We only have one victim, and everybody else is okay.
So you mentioned that sweep. Is it a full campus sweep or just this building behind us?
We'll go through all out. We'll do just for peace of mind and stuff, but everything, we had witnesses to everything, and so it's all isolated right there, but we still will go through, and because some people will be scared and upset, so we want to put them at peace of mind going through there when they see an actual officer. So.
And I'm sorry, this was started as a domestic situation?
Well, it originally came in, we didn't know what it was when it came in. Obviously it comes in as a possibly active shooter. You're on a school campus, an officer's quick response and got the person in custody, and talking to witnesses, we determined exactly what had happened at that time.
Do you know how much time elapsed between the original call and by the time everything was,
I don't right now. I haven't had time to look at all that stuff, but it was pretty quick. Like I said, we have officers, Midwest City officers work here at Rose State. We are the police department for it. So when the call come out, I mean, they're there and instantaneously getting over there. I haven't got to hear a lot of the details. I'm just wanting to let everybody know that the students are safe and we have this situation under control.
The suspect is deceased.
Not the suspect, the victim is deceased. The suspect has been arrested and he's in our jail. He's been transferred.
Do you know the name or age?
I don't know anything on that right now. Obviously, as you can see behind me with all the police officers here, I don't want to get into that. I want them to be able to do their job, so I was able to just get a brief synopsis of what's going on.
Do you know, was the victim a student or an employee here?
I do not know. I don't know at this time.
So Midwest City Police, any other agencies here to help out?
Well, when the call first came out, we were hearing from a lot of different people. We had people wondering, because they heard that we had the suspect in custody, and so we were in contact with them, and so it happened so quick, but we contained it so quick that we were able to shut things down, so that wasn't needed, but we did have some other agencies offering out and calling.
And for folks who aren't here on campus but might have somebody out here, can you give them an idea of what building this is, about where on campus it is?
Well, as you can see right here with, this street right here is Adair, and this is going to be right there where the humanities building is, right there by the main exit into where the flagpole is. We are encouraging people not to come out. Obviously, we get more people because after we get everything done, then the people will be able to leave and stuff. So there's nothing here for you really to do. But the victim, they know who it is, but the students are all safe. So
the shooting took place in the humanities building?
Well, it was outside. You see where they're standing at? It was outside right outside the area right there.
So not inside the building?
No, it was outside.
Okay. And how long do you expect this to be a scene?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, this is a terrible tragedy and stuff, and with the lab, and we wait for them to get there, and so we'll take our time. As much time as we need, we'll be out here.
But no threat, suspect in custody.
Yes, this time, yes, ma'am.
Was it a Midwest City Police officer that was working on duty here that responded directly?
Yes, our Midwest City Police Department, we have officers, off-duty officers that work here. Anybody else have anything?
This is Midwest City incident.
Yes, Midwest City. We'll be investigating this, and
So the shooter is still active right now?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
The shooter is still active right now?
No, shooter's in custody. Yeah, the witnesses identified everything. We had everything all set right there, so he's taken into custody, and that's where we're at right now. Do what?
Male or female shooter?
The victim's a male.
The victim's a male?
Yeah.
What about the shooter?
A male.
A male?
Does anybody else have anything?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and obviously, as more comes out, I will release more, because I know everybody will be wanting the mug shot and identifying the person. All
Okay,
that will come. I can't tell you exactly when.
Do you have a message for students specifically?
Well, my message would be the school here 3 weeks ago had an active shooter drill, which everybody's aware of, and we practice all this. I think things got locked down real quick in the school, and the students stayed in. We didn't have a lot of people coming out and moving around, so I just think they did a fantastic job of listening to the school and everybody staying down and not panicking, because we didn't know what was going on. But thank the Lord that it's tragic, but it stopped right there and no one else was hurt.
Thank you, sir.
Victim was a student here? Was the victim
I don't know for sure.
Sir, sorry.
It's domestic. It's basically domestic related.
Okay, we are just
Okay,
hearing
it wasn't-
from
they're not strange.
Midwest City Police Chief Sid Porter. If you are just joining us, we've been following this breaking news situation out of Midwest City on the campus of Rose State College. A shooting on campus there with one victim dead and another in custody. We know that immediately Rose State College went into its active shooter drills, sending out panic alerts to students who sheltered in place or sheltered in their cars after there were rumored to have gunshots there on campus. We have Jim Garner up on top of the scene here for us now. Jim, what's the latest out there?
Well, right, just in investigative mode, Lisa. Everything is taped off now. The shooting occurred on the back side of the Humanities building in the walkway there on the back side. So if you're looking at this building right here, it's on the top of the screen. There's a walkway back behind there. That's where that victim was shot at. And so it is a male victim, I've been told. But right now they got everything taped off in this area right here. They're continuing with their investigation. And like you heard, Midwest City Police Department will be handling the investigation. And the other male subject is in custody. The shooter is in custody. So that's good. So as far as this campus is safe right now, the area there where the shooting took place will be taped off for quite some time as they do their investigation. But the suspect's in custody. Unfortunately, somebody lost their life today. But again, the rest of the school is fine. Jim Garner reporting live from Bob Mills, Scotty's 9. Back to you.
Jim, thank you for giving us a view from this scene from up above. We also have crews there on the ground gathering information for us. Our crime tracker, Jennifer Pierce, is there now with more from what she just learned from the Midwest City Police Chief. Jennifer.
Yes, Lisa, we just spoke to the police chief. He held just a very impromptu press conference just to get the word out. As Jim had mentioned, there was a shooting just outside the Humanities building here at Rose State College. We do know at this time, from what the chief has told us, is that it started as a domestic situation. Midwest City Police also patrol the campus, so an officer or officers were already on scene very quickly when they got the word. We do know right now one male victim and one male shooter has been taken into custody. They say there were also a number of witnesses who saw the suspect and the shooting happen. Of course, they have to get statements from all of those witnesses, but right now we do know that the situation is contained. There is no longer a danger on campus as of right now. They do have to do continuous sweep of the building just to make sure that there isn't anyone else inside the building. But as far as we know right now, the situation is contained. One male suspect in custody, the accused shooter, and one male victim at this time. Reporting live in Midwest City, Jennifer Pierce, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Jennifer, thank you for that update. Certainly some very tense moments there for students on campus as they received the panic alert for a shooting there on campus. We've heard from several students who have either reached out to my colleagues or called into the newsroom saying that they just ducked into their cars. They took shelter in their classrooms when they heard gunshots just outside of the Humanities building, which we now know to be where there is one victim. It sounds like there was some sort of altercation between two men there on campus. We've been told that the two men knew each other and that there were plenty of witnesses to this shooting there on the campus of Rose State College in Midwest City. We know that students sheltered in place upon getting the alert from Rose State, and it was significant to hear Midwest City Police Chief Sid Porter speak to how they work with Rose State College. Obviously, Rose State is in Midwest City, and that they practice for these types of unfortunate events. One just as recent as 2 weeks ago, they had an active shooter drill on campus, and he credits that to the quick response by Rose State College today in getting all of the students notified, locking down the school rather quickly, and being able to go in and do the sweeps of the buildings to ensure that there were no other shooters on campus at that time. So if you are just joining us here at 1 o'clock on News 9, we have been following this breaking news situation for about 45 minutes when the first alert went out to students saying that there was a shooting on Rose State College's campus. We know it happened just outside of the Humanities building between two men. One man lost his life, another is in custody right now. We know then officers went in to do a sweep of the building, and they'll be checking all of the other buildings, as we heard Midwest City Police Chief tell media there in the staging area that they will be checking to make sure there are no other threats. But at this point in time, Rose State College is said to be a safe place. We do not know if Rose State College is canceling the remainder of the classes for today, but we are working to get that information to pass along to you here on News 9. But what we do know is that it was all hands on deck when students reported hearing gunshots outside of the Humanities building there on the south side of campus. We know many sheltered in place. We know many ducked into their cars, and we heard from the police chief saying that they were there just 2 weeks ago preparing for something like this in the event that something like this would happen. And fortunately, this was not necessarily an active shooter situation. What we mean by that is this was a shooting between two people who knew each other. It's more of a domestic shooting, but scary nonetheless for all of the students on campus when they heard the shots and had to take cover, when they received the panic alerts that there was an active shooter on campus. It was full go mode for what they had practiced just 2 weeks ago here at Rose State College, just off Southeast 15th Street. The Humanities building was completely secured. Everyone told to avoid that Humanities building. We're learning now that the shooting occurred just outside of the Humanities building between two men. One lost their life and the other now in police custody. At this hour, the Midwest City Police Chief is not prepared to release any names between the two that were involved in this altercation, but we do have crews that will be working this throughout the day. If we want to go back out now to Jim Gardner and Bob Mill Sky News 9, see what he can tell us of what he's seen at this point in time. Jim. Jim, I'm not sure if Jim can hear me. I was wondering if he was noticing any movement on campus from maybe students and faculty.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. Lisa, do you have me?
Jim, if you're with us, I'm curious if you've seen any activity there on campus, any students or faculty on campus at this point in time.
Well, the students that were in the parking lot there, they have all left, and but the area where the shooting is still taped off, Lisa, and it will be taped off for quite some time. as they complete their investigation and wait for the ME to arrive on scene and to do his stuff. So it's going to be some time before that section of the humanities building is opened back up. But again, there are still some students standing out in the parking lot. I see some more students that have come out. There were some that left earlier. So again, like you said, I don't know if the classes will continue here at Rose State or if they will cancel classes. But right now, this section of the humanities building will remain locked down and taped off for quite some time. And as the word I've been given is that the rest of the campus is safe. But you know, just as a check, they'll go through and check the buildings and make sure everything is okay, just to give students you know, a better sense of everything's going to be all right. So again, it's just a bad scene here at Rose State. Somebody had to lose their life, but again, there is no active shooter at this time, I've been told. And so that part of the building will remain taped off probably most of the day. Jim Garpoint live from Bob Mills, Sky News 9, back to you.
Okay, Jim, thank you for that update. And as you're talking about the students we see there in the parking lot, they very well could be the witnesses that we heard the Midwest City Police Chief reference, that there were plenty of witnesses on and around the campus where this occurred. So if you are just joining us, we have been following this shooting on the campus of Rose State College. The first alert going out at 12:15. Still a very active situation there as they have to go in and do a sweep of all buildings to ensure that the entire campus is safe. But the last word that we heard came from Midwest City Police Chief Sid Porter, saying that at this point there is not an active threat. Sounds like we're hearing from folks there on the campus now.
She's going to be okay.
You left the doctor's office,
Yes.
like in the middle of your appointment?
No, actually, we just finished up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad she's safe. Did she say, I mean, from what we're hearing, it was a domestic deal, 2 men involved?
Yeah, that's what we was getting on the notifications on the phone. I guess one, they had 2 guys. One guy had just walked out, and the other had shot him. I'd like to know, well, one of my questions was it a handgun? Was it a rifle? Depending on what his thoughts was. I mean, if it's a rifle, then his probably have to do more, but that was, hadn't heard anything about that.
Yeah, well, they haven't identified what kind of gun it was to us either.
No, okay.
Any idea when she's going to be able to come out, or?
She hadn't said anything yet.
Scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad everybody is okay, and I'm sorry for the person that did get shot. I mean, it hurts. There's just been too much of this going on in schools, public areas, and everything, and it just needs to be taken care of. And luckily, they got out here quick enough to get it taken care of.
Stop the threat. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your name?
Norman Hayes.
Pardon?
Norman Hayes.
Norman, Hayes?
E-S, yes.
Okay, and Norman, like the city?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. If we hear anything, I'll let you know. Anything else? We're waiting.
Okay, we were just hearing Jennifer Pierce interviewing folks there at the scene on the ground. Joining that interview a little late, but it sounds as though Norman Hayes was a concerned parent at the doctor's office nearby, heard about this alert that went out to all students at Rose State College and drove to make sure that his daughter, presumably his daughter, was okay, saying that there's too much of this going on. It's certainly been that nationally, and this is the first time that we've really had to respond to an active shooter on campus, at least where we know that someone has passed away. We've heard of swatting calls in the past, but this was actually on campus, but certainly a scary thing for any parent or student to receive that alert that says there is an active shooter on campus, and then to even find out that someone lost their life there today in what was a domestic shooting is alarming nonetheless. Jim Gardner is on top of that scene right now with more on this one. Jim.
Well, Lisa, right now you can see that area right there where all police cars are and that kind of breezeway there is all taped off where you cannot go up into that breezeway. Now, the shooting happened. If you look at that breezeway right there, there is a covered walkway that is right on the back of that building, which would be the top of your screen. That is where the shooting took place. It did not take place in the building. And so, Lisa, hang on just a second, Lisa. We have an aircraft flying under us, and I'm Going to have to toss it back to you.
Okay, Jim, thank you for that report. If you're just joining us, we have been following this breaking news situation at Rose State College with an alert going out to students about a shooting on campus at 12:15 today. And as you can see, there is still a situation on campus. We've not yet heard if classes have been canceled there. I would assume that that's probably going to be the case because we heard from the Midwest City Police Chief talking about how they're going to sweep all of the buildings just to make sure they haven't missed anything. But at this point in time, there is no active threat to any students at Rose State College. We do know that one person was shot and killed just outside of the Humanities building there by another man that they knew, likely some altercation that occurred there. We're working to gather more information on what led up to that shooting, but no other injuries to report outside of the one victim. We want to go out to Chris now, who is talking with folks who are there on campus. Chris?
Like, what is that? And then finally someone says it's an active shooter, get down.
What was going through your head when that happened?
I don't know. It was just crazy. It all happened so fast. I was just crying.
Sorry you went through all that. Were you, I thought this place was on lockdown, but you were able to leave the lockdown? Or?
Oh, no. We were in there for at least an hour. And we were in the office, and they finally released us to leave the office but stay in the building.
Were you in the Humanities building?
I was.
But you heard it, but you didn't see anything?
I didn't see it. I was a few offices down from where it happened.
Do you recall how everyone else was reacting when all that happened?
Well, we closed our door real quick. It was just me and two other teachers in the office, and it was just quiet. Everyone was quiet.
Gotcha. Do you recall anything else that happened?
No. The only thing I really remember from is just watching everyone outside scatter.
Is this your dad right here?
Yeah, he just got here.
Gosh, what did you tell your dad?
I was just like, there's an active shooter. I was like, love you. I don't know, it's just crazy.
I'm so sorry this happened to you. Is it okay we get your name?
My name is Grace.
Can you spell it for us?
Grace.
What's your last name?
Pilcher.
Can you say it?
Filter.
Obviously a very scary situation for students receiving the alert of an active shooter, but I want to be clear, at this hour there is no threat to students on the campus of Rose State College, and it in fact was not an active shooter, but a shooting between two men who likely had an argument. One man lost his life. That suspect in custody this afternoon. We are going to be learning more about what led up to that shooting. But I want to talk a little bit about how Rose State College quickly jumped into action at just hearing reports from students like Grace you just heard from there. They heard reports of gunshots coming from the south side of campus there on Rose State College's campus. And they immediately went into their lockdown drills as they have practiced before. We know that just 2 weeks ago, it was actually March 24th, Rose State teamed up with Midwest City Police, Fire, and the local hospitals to run this large-scale drill on campus. And that drill provided essential training for the community and these emergency responders, realistic sounds and visuals in case of an attack so that they would be prepared for any sort of situation. And we heard from Rose State public relations officers telling us that they immediately sent out these alerts to make all students aware. This is something that they have trained for, so they knew how to jump into action and make sure that students were able to seek shelter. We've heard of them sheltering in the labs of classes, sheltering in their cars, students just running from the building when they heard the gunshots. But Midwest City Police Chief Sid Porter told us that there are plenty of witnesses to this shooting as it happened just outside of the Humanities building there on campus. We heard from him about 20 minutes ago, and I'd like to hear from him again. If we could just roll the tape from the Midwest City Police Chief talking about today's events.
My message would be the school here 3 weeks ago had an active shooter drill, which everybody's aware of, and we practice all this. I think things got locked down real quick in the school, and the students stayed in. We didn't have a lot of people coming out and moving around, so I just think they did a fantastic job of listening to the school and everybody staying down and not panicking because we didn't know what was going on. But thank the Lord that it's tragic, but it stopped right there and no one else was hurt.
And we are glad that this was contained and quickly handled. We are hearing from a Rose alert that's sent out to students that police are clearing the administration building at this point in time, and they're letting students know they need to be prepared to cooperate and exit the building, as police officers intend to go building by building, doing entire sweeps of those buildings to make sure that everything is clear. So you will be evacuated if you are still sheltered in place there, maybe haven't heard word that there is no longer an active threat on campus. You will be asked to leave the building, and Rose State College asking students to cooperate. We have seen students lingering there on the campus, just as we could see from Jim's shot up above Rose State College, and we can only assume that those were probably witnesses to the shooting that occurred just after noon today between two men. We know one man lost his life, and we know another one is in police custody at this point in time. And we heard from the chief say there were plenty of witnesses. Those witnesses will have to stay there. They will all be interviewed or taken down to the police station to be interviewed about what they witnessed there today for future prosecution. You are now taking a live look from just outside of Rose State College Rose State College there off Southeast 15th Street. I believe I just saw an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper pass by, probably a lot of law enforcement presence all around that campus to secure the campus, to do these building sweeps that we are hearing about. And again, this is something that they've been preparing for. And I think we've seen that nationally, most universities and colleges preparing for the worst case scenario. In this today, it sounds like it was some sort of domestic altercation where one man pulled out a weapon and shot another man. That man lost his life, and now presumably a student at Rose State is in custody. We have not yet confirmed if the suspect is a Rose State College student, but we will be looking into that information. I want to go now to an interview we did back on March 24th when they were doing this sort of active shooter drill to prepare for this situation. And Dylan, if you can hear me, if we have that queued up, I'd like to take a listen. Okay, my understanding is we just have the video. If we can show them what was going on back here in March, which is, guesstimating here about 2 weeks ago, where we saw Midwest City Police, we saw Midwest City Fire, local hospitals teaming up to prepare for an active shooter situation. And the police chief kind of credits the quick response today to that training that we saw there today. Here's that training video where they went in and they're simulating exactly what could happen. And so they made it as realistic as possible. They were speaking to it being as realistic, the noises, what it could look like if there was an attack. So this was just a couple of weeks ago. They prepared for some sort of incident to happen on campus. And now here they are on April 24th, putting that training to work, quickly locking down the school, sending out those alerts to students, and surrounding the humanities building. We found out that the shooting actually took place just outside of the humanities building. Plenty of witnesses, but for all those students that were in classes that had to shelter in place, that was some very tense moments until we were able to find out that they did in fact get the suspect into custody. Is Jennifer Pierce available there on scene? It seems as though we've seen more police officers arriving to the scene. My understanding is she's working to gather more information at this time. We heard Jennifer Pierce talking with a man, his name was Norman Hayes, and he heard that there was an active shooter situation and drove from the doctor's office over to make sure his daughter was okay. And I'm sure there were several instances of where parents received that message and were very fearful and went to the scene. At this time, though, police are asking that people leave the buildings, evacuate the buildings so that they can go building to building, sweeping those buildings to make sure they are clear of any threat. I think we're going to go out to Chris Yu now, who has an update for us live on the scene. Chris?
Yeah, Midwest City Police remain on scene here at Rose State College behind me, going through the building, collecting evidence. As you said, that shooting happened outside the humanities building behind me. We talked with a witness who said she heard multiple shots while she was in the building. She was locked down for about an hour and a half before finally being released. But according to police, basically, he says it stemmed from a domestic situation. A male shooter shot and killed another male outside the humanities building. Again, a domestic situation, but police have not said how the victim victim and the shooter are related. It's unclear what led up to the shooting, but police did say that all the students here are safe. Names of the victim and the shooter, they have not been released at this time. But again, a domestic-related shooting here at Rose State College. One male killed. The male shooter has been taken into custody, and police are expected to release more information on both the victim and the shooter later on. But for now, live at Rose State College, Chris Yu, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Yes, we do have crews that are working to gather information as to what led up to this shooting on Rose State College's campus. That's on the south side of campus, just outside of the Humanities Building. If you are just joining us here at 1:22, we have been following the situation for about an hour now when the first alert went out to students warning of a possible active shooter on the campus of Rose State College. At this point in time, there is no active threat to students or to that college campus at this time. We understand this to be a shooting between two men just outside of the Humanities Building. We know one victim lost their life, another in custody. We know that there will be a heavy police presence. As you can see now, the sheriff arriving on scene too. So we've seen Midwest City Police, Oklahoma Highway Patrol. We've seen the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, all hands on deck as they plan to sweep each and every building there on the campus of Rose State College, to just as an extra precaution, because at this hour we believe that the suspect is in custody. We do not know what led up to the shooting, but we do know that Rose State College acted quickly in alerting all students, faculty, and staff to the potential threat. 2 different alerts went out to the students within just a matter of minutes, and we know that students ducked into cars that they were nearby. They ran from buildings, and we know some sheltered in place. So today, 1 victim, 1 suspect in custody, no longer a threat there on the campus of Rose State College. We have several crews working this both on the ground and from the air. We are going to be gathering as much information as possible, and we'll bring it to you live right here on News 9 for full team coverage later on today. And stay with the News 9 app.